Good morning, and thank you for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. Here, you know what we do, folks. We want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to be your best self. Well, today we are talking to author Daniel Koonce. He is out of the Sandy, Utah area, and we're talking Linear Journey with Violets, a story of trials through pain to find love and romance. So let me tell you a little bit about Daniel. Daniel Koonce works with the real estate investors of Utah and runs the e-commerce site BraytonsPlace.com. Daniel was born in 1976 in Bluffdale, Utah, where he grew up with 8 siblings, including a twin brother. The single father of 5 girls, whom he is very proud of, he still works 40-hour weeks. He considers himself a man of intellectual mind and deep thought who pours his heart into everything he does. He spends his free time writing and enjoying the company of others. Daniel continues to write poetry and books. He currently lives in Sandy, Utah. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a really big family, and when you're dedicated to your family and you're still a hardworking man, we need to talk about that and share that with other folks. It's something that I can definitely applaud. As an author myself, sometimes trying to write your book and tend to your kids is harder than folks know. So good job for Daniel. So without any further ado, let's go on and bring Daniel on to the show. Good morning, Daniel. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Daniel, what inspired you? Let me back up a little bit. As an author, I love to have people on the show who have written whatever genre of book that they've decided to tap into. It's really fun because we all have a process. We all have similar desires, hopes, and goals of I want to get this message out. I want to share. I want to make people smile, or I want to let them know that they're not going through something alone. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, it all started when the bottom fell out in my life, and it was just me and my 5 girls. So we were by ourselves for a little while, and I decided to make some changes in my life and look for love and happiness. And I met a very special lady, and she's the one that inspired me to write the book. So I actually started out as just writing her a letter every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the book initially started.
I like that. Yes. How awesome. I love that. I love that. And they wonder if those things still work. Apparently they do. That is awesome. I love that idea. Now, would you say that it took you a long time, a short time to write the book, time frame wise? Did you think that, I'm just going to whip this out in a weekend, or did you allow yourself just time to kind of free think and just kind of get the book out as it came to you?
It took me about 9 months to write. It was just kind of free thought. I initially wasn't intending to write a book. That's what's more amazing is at one point I realized how much I had written, and I started sharing some of it, and that's where we went from there. We decided to get it published.
Now, do you think that you said it took about 9 months for you to write it. Were they 9 consecutive months, or did it end up taking like 3 years worth of 9 months? Because, sometimes authors we kind of, it's not always, well, I wrote for a little while and then I took a break and then I wrote a little while. Would you say it was a consecutive 9 months, or do you think it took you a little bit longer, but 9 months cumulative?
Oh, I would say it was consecutive 9 months. Actually, it was so inspired that it almost wrote itself as, free thought, and just went really quickly. So it was kind of an interesting deal.
Of course, of course. Now, what would you say in your own words? Because of course, everyone's going to go, and before we go to break a little later in the show, I'll definitely let you share where you can pick up a copy of the book. But what would you say in your own words? What is the book about?
It's about trial. I was at a low point in my life and just searching for new beginning, and God kind of showed me the way, and about finding romance and passion through trouble. So.
God, yeah. And it's so interesting how everyone shares their story a little bit differently, and it amazes me how someone can say, well, I wrote a book and it was about finding my true love and the things that we went through. And people say, yeah, mine is too. And it's like, well, I grew up in the city, so did I. Or we were, met when we were children, or we met in college, or we met, at our favorite coffee spot. And it's like, yeah, me too. But yet the books can be so incredibly different, but you're attracted to both books, and you really want to read both styles. What makes your book, or maybe I should say, what do you feel makes your book or your story a little bit different than the others? Or what do you think is some of the things that would attract our listeners to reading your book?
Well, I would say it's autobiographical, and it's a linear journey told through poetry, which is rather unique. You won't find too many books that will convey their story entirely through poetry.
Yeah, that is a little bit differently, and especially like you said, with the fact that it's poetry, it allows us to also use our imagination, I suppose, and kind of follow along on the journey, or sometimes people say the dance of the music of the words, and all of these very flowy ways of describing how we can just follow along with what you were thinking and really trying to put down on paper to share with us. Now, when we talk about where you decided to write, many times, especially in the movies, we see these depictions of authors going off to the cabin in the woods, and they kind of seclude themselves, and they have their laptops or their typewriters, and they're just going at it and pulling their hair out trying to get the words right, and all of that. Can you describe what your writing process was like, just in case we have someone listening who's thinking about writing their first book? What would you say was your writing experience like?
Well, for me, it was rather peculiar because I'm quite busy, so I would keep a pen and paper handy, and then just a voice recorder. And I would just speak my notes, and on occasion, if I wake up in the middle of the night with a thought, I would write it down and then compile it all into the story. So kind of an interesting process.
But how really smart is that you did that? When I was much younger, we're talking, college age here, without, spilling the beans on how old I am. I had a roommate that was a music major, and I loved how, like you said, she always had her little recorder with her. And she would kind of sing or hum these melodies all the time. She wanted to compose movie scores. And it was just so interesting to hear her, in the middle of the night, just kind of get up and just, and you got used to it. You really did get used to it. But it was amazing at how productive that really and truly was, because then she could sit down when she had the proper time to actually write it out like what you're describing, and really kind of fine tune and make it correct. I love that process. Now, I know that it's almost time for us to go to break. But I want to ask you one more question before we do that. And like I said, there so many times when we're talking to authors, we have such great feedback, and many times it's from people who are aspiring artists or authors. I'm sorry, and they say, I've had this book on my mind for 5 years. Or people have been prompting me to really just get to it, just get started. If you could give a bit of advice to someone who is just starting, and it really doesn't matter like the genre of book that they want to write, but what is a bit of advice that you could give to them, or what was perhaps something someone said to you along the way that you found to be such a golden nugget of information that you would like to pass along when it comes to writing or the process or the procedures or so on?
Well, I would first say continue writing no matter what. For my scenario, I actually showed a literature teacher some of my work, and she's the one that advised me to get published and said I had a talent and to pursue it. So for me, everything was kind of a new learning curve as I go, but just don't give up. Just keep writing. And that's about what I can say about that, is just keep going with it and don't give up and be persistent, because it can go fast.
I love that. Be persistent and don't give up. I think, hey, that's great advice for life. Be persistent and don't give up, especially if that is your dream. I have to agree with you 1,000% on that one, Daniel. Well, I want to make sure that everyone is able to get a copy of your book, visit you online or social media, any of that good stuff. If you would please, before we go to break, can you share where can people find you online?
The book is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and you can actually go to the website, violetsinautumn.com. And it's also available at Book Venture Publishing, Top Link Publishing, and Author House Publishing.
All righty, listeners, you heard that. Go to violetsinautumn.com. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. Today I am speaking with Daniel Koonce, and he is the author of Violets in Autumn. Now, I absolutely love the title of the book because, one, I love violets. Who doesn't love the color purple? And autumn is my favorite season. So it's like, whoo-hoo, 2 thumbs up for the title of this book. I love it. So, Daniel, let me ask you this. Becoming an author has a tendency to kind of change who we are, and it allows us to do some different things because now we have confirmed to ourselves that we had a book in us, we've written it, and we have successfully published our book. Yes, we can do it. So how, now that you are officially an author, how has it improved your life?
Well, I would say it's opened up so many opportunities and possibilities, not only to share my story, but to help other people, to inspire them, and help them find a better path in life. So for me, that's what led me to Real Estate Investors of Utah, just to kind of grow and see how I can help other people when they have trials in their life. So if there's anybody that ever needs any help, they can text Team 15 to 801-810-2747, and a bunch of really great people help you out and get you out of that bad spot in your life and straighten things out for you.
Now,
Sorry.
We just started, but definitely, if I don't remember to ask you, please be sure to give that text code again. I would love to make sure that people who join a little bit later also get an opportunity to hear that. anytime we can help someone, I definitely want to do that. So the real estate investors of Utah, I love that they are helping. Since becoming an author, has anything else kind of prompted you or inspired you, or have any other doors been opened for you for a way for you to not only improve your life but maybe improve the life of others as well?
Oh yes. For example, it helped me start a writing club, as I can say,
Mm-hmm,
and it's
mm-hmm,
also helped me to help my daughters kind of understand a little bit about publishing and just opportunities in general,
mm-hmm.
things that they never would have thought about before. But it's opened a lot of doors, learning new things and meeting new people.
Mhm. 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 Now, would you say that that you have been given opportunities for a chance to even pursue things that you didn't think would normally have happened in your life if you hadn't written the book?
Oh yes, absolutely. For example, writing the book, I was not expecting that, but it's also allowed me to pursue some of the business aspect, just getting in and learning how a lot of things work. I wouldn't have
Mhm.
started an e-commerce business without learning the process or opportunities that were
Mhm.
available. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's pretty interesting.
Mhm. It's really amazing that when we and listeners, you've heard me say this before, that when we walk in our purpose and we walk along the path that God has really given for us, then we find that there are doors that are unexpectedly opened. And I mean that from the sense of you didn't necessarily think that the door was there or even know that there was a door that was supposed to be there, and you realize that wow, God really wanted me to do this, and in being obedient and following through with what we were supposed to do, boy, are we rewarded down the road in ways that we don't even suspect. And I really love those God moments, as many people call them, where we're like, wow, that was just a blessing that that particular thing happened. I didn't even see that coming. So that's awesome that has happened to you as well.
Because I completely agree. It's amazing to see his hand working in my life
Mhm.
when all the
Mhm.
pieces of the puzzle is just lining up together.
Mhm. Mhm. And I love it when we go on authors. I know that many of you are thinking about going on book tour. All I can say personally is yes, go on book tour, even if it's a small book tour. Initially, it could just be, like your city and maybe two or three others. But definitely do it because you'll be surprised at the number of people who want to come by and spend some time with you, who want to meet you, who want you to sign a copy of their book so they can just share with you how you have helped change their lives. So you've changed theirs and they have an opportunity to change yours and just kind of give you that positive reinforcement. Well, Daniel, my next question for you is how do you think that your book have helped other people grow? From the story that you share, do you believe that others have been able um, to grow from having read it and take that information and make their lives better?
Well, I wanted to give them hope and inspire them because
Mm-hmm.
even through the dark trials, there's always hope, and everything will always work for the best. There's always light
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For me, that's what I want to share with everybody is don't give up because
Mm-hmm.
things are working in your favor, even if you don't realize it.
That is so true, and many times it's just really giving what you're going through, just giving it over to God and just saying, "Okay, Lord, here you go. Just help me through this." And really believing that your prayers are going to be answered. I think for many people that's where they get a little confused or they kind of get stuck is that they pray, but they're not really sure if God is listening to them or if God's going to really answer their prayer. They're just kind of praying because they know that that's what they're supposed to do. And I love how you say there really is a light at the end of the tunnel. And that is so true. God really is going to provide that way out for you. You may not see it, but it's definitely going to be there. It's definitely going to be there. And I think we all have a story. I think when we have conversation with others, we find that we all have one of those stories. I'm a cancer survivor, and we all have that story of, boy, was I not feeling well, or I was really down, or I wasn't sure. I was worried about my kids or worried about my marriage or whatever it is. But there really was light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you so much for reminding everyone of that. Now, how do you think that your life has changed since you have published your books?
Well, I would say not only has it opened opportunities, but it's given me hope and strength through everything I've gone through. And it's opened up opportunities for more growth, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, that I probably would have never seen if I hadn't gone through those experiences. So I always say, he'll open the door. All you have to do is walk through it. That's the tricky part.
Right. Because how many people are just still standing there? It's like, hello, the door is open, go, and they're kind of scared. It's like, I'm not sure, and it's like, go through the door. Yes, most definitely. And there's nothing like having a really good group of friends around you that will kind of give you that little nudge and say, go. This is what you've been waiting for. Here's your opportunity. Isn't this what you've prayed for? Go. What are you doing standing there? Do it already. I love it. Now, a little side question, and I love that you that you talk about your girls and how proud of your girls you are. I love big families. I think that it is something that is really, really awesome. And especially in today's society, we don't see as many big families as we used to. And there's a host of reasons why that is. Because some folks will say, kids cost more now, Dr. Angela. We can't have, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids like we used to. So there's a various reasons as why we don't have big families. But again, a side note, what do you think is one of the best things that your girls have encouraged you to do when it comes to being an author or fulfilling your dreams or going after what you believe you're supposed to do? Children have a way in their own little kid-like wisdom of sometimes encouraging us and keeping us empowered or uplifted in their own little way. Have your girls been able to do that for you as well?
Oh, absolutely. They give me the courage to step out of myself and be able to write new stuff. And it's just great to share with them every experience. So, and also allows us to try new things together and kind of grow together as a family as well.
That is so true. And I like how, like you said, it draws you together as a family. Now, are your girls old enough to have read a copy of this book, or is this a little bit too mature for them, or were you able to share with them?
I would say my older girls are probably mature enough to read and comprehend the content. My younger girls are looking for pictures in the book.
Right. I can understand that. It's so funny because I asked that question because when I wrote my very first book, my boys were little. They were still in elementary school, and they understood. Okay, Mom's trying to write this book, But they didn't really understand, what that meant. It's like, Mom's always at the computer. What is she doing? And it was, how can I kind of encourage them to still be with me and let them know that I haven't forgotten about them? Or when they're like, well, can we read it too? And it's about premarital counseling. So it's like, well, there's not really anything in here, for an elementary school kid, So it was really interesting to try to figure out, how to keep them encouraged while I was still doing that. And it was really, really nice. I put them in charge of break time, so I would tell them, set a timer for Mom. And so needless to say, I would try to write, especially when they were at school, but when they were home or on the weekends, it's like, set a timer for Mom. And when that timer goes off, that means it is time for me to be a mom. And that's what I want you to make sure you're in charge of. So I love how our kids can encourage us. Well, Daniel, it's almost time for us to go to break, and I want to make sure that people can get in contact with you and be able to purchase a copy of your book, which you also gave us like a text code or something in the beginning of the segment. Could you go over that again as well and make sure people understand what you're doing with that as well?
Absolutely. It's the Real Estate Investors of Utah. What they do is they help people that are upside down or in their finances or their housing, help them get back on their feet and get straight away so they can live a better quality life. And if they're interested in finding out more information, just text Team 15 to 801-810-2747. And it's an excellent group of people that will be able to help you get your life straightened out.
And we really want to make sure that people are able to stay in their homes. Being a homeowner is just so incredibly important, and it's a part of your legacy, a part of building our empires and our net worth. So we definitely want to be able to leave our homes and our property to the next generation. We know that that's biblical, and it's just plain smart, because it's biblical, so we know that we are covered on one side or the other, because some people say, oh, it's so old-fashioned. Well, it's really smart. Well, Daniel,
I agree.
Right? It's like, come on, you guys. We know that the advice that we have been given still holds true today. Well, Daniel, I want to make sure that people are also able to get a copy of your book. So where can they find your book once again?
It's available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can purchase it at violetsinautumn.com, and you can also go to toplink.com, bookventure.com, or authorhouse.com.
All righty, listeners, you heard it here. We need to take a very short break, but when we get back, I will continue our conversation with Daniel Koonce. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. Today I am speaking with author Daniel Koonce. He is the author of Violets in Autumn. And you can pick up a copy of his book at violetsinautumn.com. Well, Daniel, I know that many times as a business person, as an author, as someone who's walking in purpose, we have these little bits of advice, these bits of wisdom that are inside of us that sometimes we don't even know how they got there, but we just know that they're there. And people want to pick our brains about that. So I'm going to ask, just in case someone came in a little bit late to the show, do you have any little pearls of wisdom that you could share or that you would like to share of either things that you've learned along the way, or perhaps something that someone has said to you that you found to just be really profound and you just want to share that with someone else about pursuing a career as a writer?
Absolutely. I would say never give up. If it doesn't make sense, just write it, and it'll come in handy at another time. Just keep writing and exploring your creativity. As they say, the journey is the path. So you'll never know where you're going if you don't try. So just keep at it, and if it sounds crazy, it'll probably be interesting.
You better believe it. Sometimes the fun of walking in your path and just doing what you believe that you have, kind of been purposed to do here on earth is just kind of stepping out in it and just going, okay, here we go. We can all sit down and we can have a plan and we could try to map it all out. But part of life, I think, is just learning how to deal with the little surprises that we get along the way and just being able to maneuver and realize that our lives are not going to totally and completely fall apart, or, one little pothole doesn't ruin the journey, that we really can just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when we talk about the experience of writing, and we blend that with the whole experience of living the life that you have lived, meaning, the things that you've learned as a child, the things that you've learned as a teenager, and the things that you've learned as an adult, what would you say are some of your best experiences, and what are some of the best takeaways that you can have? Like, I know many times we'll experience something as an adult, and especially as an author, that will blend into one of the stories that we're writing about, or it may have found its way into one of the lines of poetry that you have written about in this book. What are some of the things that you could share with us?
Well, I would say for me, it's taught me and shown me that I can do this. I can do anything I put my mind to and keep going. And I can inspire other people, and that they have impacted me in ways that I couldn't ask for if I had not gone through certain experiences, whether it be writing or life in general. True meaning to count your blessings.
I don't think people realize that we really and truly do have so many opportunities to count those blessings that we have. When I think that when we look at life through a more positive lens, and I know that many times people say, oh, you can't look at life through that rose-colored glass because you only see the positive and you never see the negative. But, I also think that we shouldn't always look at life through, shattered glass, that it's not always about the obstacles or the bad that's going on. But if we learn to kind of appreciate the glass in all of the stages and in all of the phases, that we can learn something in every opportunity and in every moment that we experience throughout our lives.
Oh, I completely agree. It sounds interesting to say I don't mind the mess, because without it I can't grow, and I wouldn't.
Right. I remember telling or sharing one time, just a little side note, in a seminar one time, and I gave the example that, everyone talks about that they love the sunshine. I said, but without the rain, we wouldn't really appreciate the sunshine quite as much. Now, my main office is in Long Beach, California. And we know that being especially in Southern California, that there comes a time of the year, which is usually around what most people would say is late autumn or early winter, like after Thanksgiving, Christmas time. You experience fires. And everyone says, wow, why does California burn every year? What they forget about is the conversation where it's, oh, that beautiful California sunshine. It's so gorgeous. And it is. It really is. But because of all of that gorgeous sunshine, there's very little rain and things are really dry. So you have to learn to kind of appreciate the ebb and flow. The things that you get. So when it does rain, everyone's like, oh, thank God it's raining. It's like, we need this rain. It is so dry. But then, of course, you want the sun to come back out again. But you really do have to learn how to take the good with the bad and learn the lesson. Well, when we look at experiences, Daniel, how could um, how could the experiences that people go through, especially when we're talking about relationships, and the various relationships that we have, what do you think are some of the ways that people could learn from their experiences and be able to apply that to their relationship and make their relationships or allow their relationships to move forward?
I would say going through the experiences, it teaches you how to love and love deeply in all experiences, good and bad. And it also
Mm-hmm.
teaches you how to relate and communicate with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and inspires you for new goals and dreams together. Not just in general for your individual self, but as people, as group, inspire other people around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's better.
Do you think that as a society, do you think that people have perhaps forgotten how to have like conversation with each other, that they've forgotten how to really kind of sit down and express themselves? And not that I'm trying to blame it on social media or on texting or anything like that, even though that may be the reason for some people. Do you think that people have just forgotten how to sit down and really talk and share with each other?
I'm still from the pager era, so yes, I
Mhm.
absolutely agree. I
Mhm.
think that there's been a big disconnect in society in general. They no longer know how to relate to each other or
Mhm.
communicate. No eye
Mhm.
contact. So I think it just kind of destroys that connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That is so true. That is so true. Now I know, listeners, there's someone that's saying, "But you don't understand. We communicate all the time. We send text messages." Of course, that is definitely a form of communication, and I definitely say don't stop. If especially if that's the only way that you're communicating, please don't stop the text messaging, because at least you're trying to communicate in some way, shape, or form. And if you're not communicating at all, definitely send that text message. There's somebody out there right now that wishes that their significant other would send them a text message that says, "Hey, I love you," or "I'm thinking about you," "I miss you," or just simply "Have a great day," or "I believe in you," or whatever. So most definitely. I agree with you. I love a good book. I My books are available in the Kindle format or the ebook format, whatever they're called on all the various platforms out there. But to me, there's nothing like having that tangible book in your hand, of turning that lovely page, and the feeling of having a book in your hand. I know that, again, without telling my age, that I am starting to be a little old-fashioned with that, but I love it. I love it, and it just gives me a very nostalgic feeling. I absolutely love it. Well, I
yeah.
cannot believe that my time with you is almost up, Daniel. I tell you, time flies when you're having a good time. Before we end out, though, I want to give you an opportunity to share anything that you want to share. If you have any words of encouragement, or if there's any bits of wisdom that perhaps I didn't ask you about that you wanted to share, I kind of open up the floor to you now. A minute or two or so, if there's anything that you would like to say.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. It says, my advice would be don't give up, keep trying, and just pursue new things. There's no level of creativity. The universe is completely the limit. You can do anything that's possible as long as you put your mind to it and put your drive and passion and desire behind it, and
Mhm.
find ways to help others out and pass along that gift as you're going through and learning the process. That's what it's all about, being able to share. And say, it'd be nice to have all the toys, but it'd be real boring not to have anything to share with them.
Yeah.
So.
Mhm. 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 I love that. You know, we do have to learn to share and open up and have these experiences with folks that it really and truly will change our lives. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to make sure that everyone has again an opportunity to pick up a copy of your book, to visit your website, all of that good stuff. So, if you would please, can you let people know how they can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. They can text Team 15 to 801-810-2740, and I'd be more than happy to share any information or questions. In violetsanautumn.com, you can submit a question there, or you can even go to bradysplace.com, and I'd be more than willing to answer questions there as well. But you can find me anywhere.
I love it. I love it. Well, everyone, you have just listened to author Daniel Koonce. He is the author of Violets in Autumn. Daniel, thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, thank you for joining me as well. We really and truly do appreciate you tuning in every Monday at 10 a.m. We love your words of encouragement. Thank you so much for many of you who have visited me on drangela.chester.com and left such wonderful words and letting me know that you are enjoying the show, that you love our guest, and you are being inspired. When you inspire me, I continue to bring on these awesome guests that inspire you, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful circle, and I love it. Until next week, everyone, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Have an awesome week. See you next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.